Let me first introduce myself. My name is Elles Ramakers. I work as a lecturer at the law faculty in Maastricht and as a trainer at the professional training of the Bar Association in the Netherlands, a training that resembles the training of lawyers in several other countries. Furthermore, I work as a lawyer and mediator at Roeleving Lawyers and Mediators. As lawyer and mediator, I particularly practice law of persons and family law, among which also divorce cases and messy divorce cases. This video is about the features and phases of mediation in general. To point out the importance of mediation, I first want to tell you something about divorce mediation. When our current king, Willem-Alexander, introduced his at that time fiancée Maxima to the Dutch people, he said that he had chosen her because she brought out the best in him. I wish everyone who wants to share the rest of his or her life with someone that he or she will also choose the person who will bring out the best in him or her. I'm not sure whether this applies to most people. What I do know, however, is that a divorce tends to bring out the worst in quite some people. Parties can want to destroy each other. Phrases like, I will ruin you, I will take away your children, and I will make sure that you won't have a penny left are regularly heard in the divorce practice. Lawyers are eagerly used by those disputing spouses to make and win war. Being put in the right, if necessary, at the expense of the opposite party, inclusive the children, that's what a messy divorce is about. If they are tempted to this war, lawyers will use the judicial adversarial model, while basically it concerns a relational conflict. For a good understanding, I will first focus on what mediation exactly is. Mediation is a form of ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution, as are arbitration and binding advice. The definition of mediation by Brown and Mariant, two gurus in mediation land, is the following. Mediation is a facilitative process in which disputing parties engage the assistance of an impartial third party, the mediator, who has no authority to make any decisions for them, but who uses certain procedures, techniques and skills to help them to resolve their dispute by negotiated agreement without adjudication. This definition shows that mediation is not a form of dispute settlement for parties, as is the case for other forms of ADR and government courts, but of dispute settlement between parties. It is not the mediator who decides. He guides the mediation procedure and facilitates the communication between parties. He enables parties to jointly reach a solution which is acceptable for both of them. Mediation has a number of features, like self-determination, voluntariness, confidentiality, and the various steps in the mediation process, and it is also characterized by the role of the mediator. For the first feature, the self-determination. The mediator does not have a decisive role. Parties are autonomous and decide themselves about the outcome of their conflict. This aspect of mediation reflects the current human nature. For in the modern, individualistic society, people are becoming more outspoken and want to be able to decide themselves about their interest. The mediator supports parties to handle their issues themselves. The primary objective of the mediator hence is to support and stimulate this self-determination. It are the parties themselves who, from their independence or autonomy, decide on the outcomes of their conflict. The second feature, voluntariness. The general principle of mediation is voluntariness, although some countries also work with certain forms of obligatory mediation, as Italy and Argentina. Voluntariness means that parties agree to the fact that the mediator will guide them in the mediation process, and that participation in the process may be stopped if any party does not see the point of mediation anymore. One could also speak of commitment. Parties need to feel connected to the process in order to come out of it together. The mediation may be stopped by parties if their commitment is lacking. The third feature is confidentiality. The success of the mediation process is linked to its confidentiality. Parties need to feel free to talk about what really concerns them during the mediation, and have to be able to think freely about the possible outcomes without having the other party make an appeal to it if the mediation fails. That is why the starting point is that whatever is discussed at the mediation table and what is specifically meant for the purpose of the mediation remains confidential. The fourth feature of mediation is the role of the mediator. The mediator guides the mediation procedure, he stimulates the communication and facilitates the negotiations, but he has the parties to do the real work themselves. In order to do so, the mediator needs to be independent. He does not take sides. The mediator, furthermore, needs to be neutral. He may not undermine the self-determination of parties. He may not steer the process in a certain direction. This attitude enables the mediator to gain the trust of parties, which is essential for the success of the mediation. In overall, three main phases can be distinguished: the preparatory phase, the plenary mediation phase, and the closing phase. The plenary mediation phase can be divided in four subphases: the opening phase, the exploration phase, the negotiation phase, and the decision-making phase. Typical of the negotiation phase is the application of the Harvard negotiation method, and that method has four basic principles. The first principle is separate people from the problem. The second, shift from positions to interests. The third, look for objective criteria. And the last one, the fourth, look for solutions for mutual benefit. Mediation does not consider a conflict as a natural disaster which has to be fought. The conflict is rather seen as something one has in common with the other party, and it is a trick to come out of it in a mature way. So far we explored the features and phases of mediation in general. Finally, I wish you a lot of pleasure following the rest of the online mediation course.